get started. And joining us today, we've got a panel of experts with decades of experience in their areas. And first of all, I'd just like to introduce Ashley Howells, who's our commercial manager here at TrustMark. Ash is the scheme development manager, and in this role, he spends time working very closely with our scheme providers and trade associations, certification bodies, in strengthening the offer that we provide for them and the support we can give them. And then we also have the Kbsa National Chair, Richard Hibbert. Richard is a managing director of his own kitchen and bedroom bathroom business in Suffolk, with 21 years of experience, but he's also the national chair of the Kbsa Association, and he's a regular writer for Trade and Retail KBB magazine, as well as a consultant for the KBB industry. We're also really pleased to have some of the two Kbsa members here. We have Mark Butler, who is the area chair for the Midlands and North for Kbsa, but he's also managing director of Butler Interiors, a two-studio business based in North Yorkshire and Cumbria, and he's again got lots of experience, 30 years in fact. And we also have a newer member of Kbsa, Michael Goodwin. Michael has 18 years experience in the kitchen, bedrooms and bathroom industry, and he has several showroom settings, and he's here to offer his insights as a relatively new member of the Kbsa and TrustMark, and to talk about the benefits that's brought him and his business. So we're really, really pleased to have the guest speakers with us here today. We're pleased to have you here watching us. We've got a lot of valuable information. So I'd like to hand over to our first guest speaker, Ash Howells from TrustMark, to just talk generally about the wider benefits of being a member of a quality scheme such as TrustMark.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I'm going to go through some slides. I've got some slides to share with you just to add a bit of context, because I'm not going to go into very granular details regarding certain elements, and the slides will just add a bit to that, which obviously you'll be able to see following this webinar. So to start off with, I just want to go into some high kind of level details to give you a bit of an oversight regarding who TrustMark are, why holding a TrustMark license can add value to you and your business. So TrustMark are a not-for-profit enterprise. We work with industry leaders to ensure consumer protection is in place and to give consumers a high level of confidence. It really brings that peace of mind to homeowners, landlords, etc., that the job is going to be done right and they will be looked after throughout that process. Obviously, we have the links that go down to the installers, but because of the relationship we have with Kbsa, we also explore additional avenues that feed into that. So not only looking to see how the TrustMark brand can add to commercial bids, but also look at the links that we can create with suppliers in the supply chain. And that's a big thing that we have been developing recently, especially in the KBB market, looking at developing some of those relationships to see how we can add value to showrooms and the wider remit of business that you may conduct. Okay, so we are the only quality scheme for improvements in and around the home that is endorsed by the government. Our scheme providers that sit underneath us, we have 37, and that is growing. Well, it's currently growing further afield than that to cover more businesses, more trades, and we have a very large scope across the UK that capture that. Obviously, the KBB market, we capture a remit of trades within that, but we also look at developing further initiatives that feed into your market. So if you think about things like the fitted furniture apprenticeship as well, so there are links that go wider afield than that. We do cover all those trades. That's just a very quick kind of overview of just some of the trades we cover. And obviously some of you will probably spot elements there that do feed into your trade. Obviously, we do go quite granular with trades because there are people that specialize in very specific trades like tilers, but they will also feed into doing work for showrooms, especially if work's subcontracted out. So how do we actually help business? So when you think about that TrustMark logo, and if it's up on the window or up on a van along with your company brand, how does that actually help the business? So initially, it's the benefit for the business is to help consumers find you more easily. So we get an awful lot of traffic that comes to the TrustMark website through a wide range of avenues, and it really kind of puts you there on that platform as well. That also ties into lots of software that's being used around property. So if you think about elements that were presented at the Kbsa conference last year regarding AI initiatives and technology and how that's coming into the market and how that's going to develop, there's a lot of technology-based companies now that use a TrustMark API that pose on that directory. So when you're thinking about a complete process that someone may use regarding getting funding from banks or from side government initiatives and things, it will all feed into that directory. So it really gets the brand and the name of the company out there. That can also then help obviously generate leads with work. It also does give access to funding and different initiatives that come into that. Obviously, TrustMark, if we turned the clock back, we were primarily working in government capital funded energy scheme work. So some people may look and think, well, you obviously play in the eco field and looking at renewables and things like that. There are obviously avenues that feed into where the giving the awareness to the homeowner about some of those come into play, which is quite important because a lot of people, when they look to do work in their home and they're having a complete kitchen refit, they may also look at other works as well. And one of the things that put people ahead is just making people aware, well, actually, if you're looking to get a new boiler, you can get X amount of funding as well. So that's where having the TrustMark element can help as well, just for awareness of it as well, that feeds into it. But also, with some of the conversations we're having with banks and lenders, looking at how we can look at the complete works in around the home. So not just looking at very specific things like loft insulation and getting work like that done, but also looking at, well, actually, a lot of homeowners want to do certain pieces of work, which could be a complete bathroom refit, which actually includes getting a lot of the plumbing redone and remapped out and feeds into other works as well. So a lot of those conversations do come about from the conversations we have from Kbsa collaboration, KBB industry collaboration, and then obviously with the banks and lenders. So it's thinking about how we can add to that consumer saving time and also saving headache if they're having a lot of work and a lot of disruption to their home life, how we can add to that. Just trying to make life easy, really, for everybody. So the TrustMark benefits that feed into that. I know I've mentioned the collaboration we have and the industry representation to drive elements forward. And that can be from when we're looking at increasing potential workload, because I know from recent KBB industry research conducted, 48% of respondents were concerned about workload potentially dropping in 2024. So we're talking with the KBB market to see how can we address some of the supply chain concerns, how can we help, how can we also lobby with government to try and add to the caveat of what is brought from the top down to showrooms, down to the people doing the work in people's homes as well. We've been approached by some large organizations as well to see how they can provide services and discount offers to our collective membership base. So that comes from some of the screenshots you can see there, social media posts where we do kind of spotlights on businesses who are very active promoting both their scheme and TrustMark and really pushing their standard forward. Some of the images there you'll be able to see as well feed in from their business portal that they've logged in and added pictures onto. That's a very important thing to do. I do request to all people that have a TrustMark license to do with their business portal, but also about campaigns that we will run with Kbsa, and some of the snippets you can see there is from a Kbsa campaign that we did collectively to try and just help further promote business, further promote everything that's going on in the KBB industry, and also really make sure when a homeowner's thinking, where do I go to look to get this work done in my property, whether it is bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, they come to a Kbsa member and someone that is going to do the job right. The benefit of some of these large organizations coming to us, because we have the membership base behind us as well as government endorsement, we have negotiated some better deals. So a lot of people that follow social media posts from both Kbsa and TrustMark would have noticed a lot of noise towards the end of last year. And that covers a wide range. And some of the images you can see here are some of the partnerships we secured last year. This includes a range of discounts. That's from 20% off tool hire to discount on fuel, which has had huge traffic so far. Financial training, so thinking about, well, actually, how do I grow my business? Or if you're employing somebody to help with running the financials, putting them on discounted training that will really help kind of run things forward. To fleet hire services, vehicle protection. There's an awful lot there. There's even more than just the images there. So please look at either the Kbsa site, TrustMark website, or even log into your business portal, because all the granular details and discount codes and things like that are accessible through there. Also, this just highlights how important it is. The reason why we targeted these companies, so companies like the AA, to look for breakdown coverage and tool hire coverage. The reason why we targeted these companies to build that is last year when we sent out our survey to all members. These were the key things that came back saying, we really want some discount in these areas. We have just sent out this year's survey, so please complete that, because that will give us the focus on what you see as value as well. So please do complete that, because that will then help us add to that, which looks to save you money in the long run. The opportunities we build is something that I know I've already made reference to, and it largely comes with the organizations that run pilots and things. So there's a lot of initiatives that are out there that are focused, obviously, when you think about funding going for raising energy efficiency of properties, but there are lots of additional ones that feed into it as well regarding extra works that happen. So wet rooms being put into properties, complete bathroom refits, looking at different fittings and smart fittings as well, thinking about people's disabilities, thinking about how vulnerable consumers, which I'm going to discuss shortly as well, about how that's done. And this is where collaborating with Kbsa and industry leaders is really important, and getting your feedback as well, because we're looking now at kind of looking at how AI feeds into it following the presentation at Kbsa conference, but also looking at other avenues where we can really look to develop it. And that includes looking at supply chain concerns regarding apprenticeships. How do we make it easier for showrooms, etc., to take on people to help run the financials of their company, but also run administrative elements of their showroom, and then create the additional links to the people doing works for them. Because I'm aware that some showrooms do have banks of installers that you always use, so it's important to be aware of the aid that comes into play there. So this is where collaboration really is key, and webinars like this really highlight our great relationship with Kbsa that we do have. So when a showroom or a business would initially look at how they would become TrustMark, how they would get onto the TrustMark register and gain that license, there is a whole process for it. However, with Kbsa, extremely fortunate, because what Kbsa do is they have mapped all of their documentation and checks to make sure that everything that's TrustMark specific is already captured within the process. There's no additional hoops to jump through. There's no additional things that you would have to tick boxes, additional surveillance, visitation, things like that. Nothing additional. And Kbsa also cover the cost of the registration as well. So they do gift it to all their members. So it's as simple as a quick conversation with Kbsa, most likely done, and you will have a chat through those elements and get signed up for it and get all of those things. And through that their vetting process, which is straightforward, it's just some checks for it, that you then gain all of those additional benefits and things that are TrustMark and Kbsa. And on the note of gifting Kbsa, I'm just going to hand over to Richard Hibbert, please.
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. As we discussed, I am the chair of the Kbsa, but like most of you, I am a retailer myself. My business is in Suffolk, and we've been going 35 years. I'm really happy I've got Mark and Michael here, so I can, in a minute, I'm going to kind of throw them under the bus with a few questions about membership, and a bit later on about consumer protection. Quickly on the Kbsa, we are for the KBB industry. We do cover other things like office and bars and everything else that you as an interior retailer would provide, but obviously the highlights are the kitchen, bedrooms and the bathrooms. We are non-for-profit, and I'll kind of talk to you retailer to retailer here. I'm a member. I've been a member about 16 years. It's a benefit to my business, whether it's entering the awards, the magnificent conference we have every year, the benefits from cars to computers to the consumer protection to the ability to gain loans and other key business services. But I see it as we are the back office as well. We cover legal services. There's a free legal helpline which covers financial, health and safety, HR. We provide all your documentation. I mean, on our Markel portal, there are thousands of documents. So I see it as a back office. We improve. We don't change your business. So we're not looking to change you as a business. We love the individuality of you, but we want to support that. And through that, you can see that we lobby. During COVID was a great example where we took it to trading standards and local councils and the government, and we got showrooms open. And on the flip side, we supported businesses through that massively. And when we couldn't open, we made sure others like Wren didn't, and we got all of Wren's showrooms closed in that second lockdown. So we're non-for-profit. Everything goes back into the membership. Obviously some key benefits on here, but there's lots more coming into the pipeline, as well as massive investment into our website and consumer-facing website. But yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer for me as a retailer, and the bigger we are, the stronger we are, and the more we can do for independence, because there's no one else really looking after that side of it. And obviously you get free TrustMark with that, so it's double bubble if you want to call it. Okay, I will jump into a few questions we've got for the guys, and I'm going to start with Michael, and just trying to find out, why did you sign up to the Kbsa really?
Well, for us, we've been in the industry for about 20 years now. As a business, we're relatively new. We subcontract all our fitters out, but we've been working with them for nearly 20 years and feel that we offer a good service. Looking at the Kbsa and looking at what it can offer and what showrooms are obliged to do following the conduct and what's expected, we felt we were working towards that anyway, and for us, why not get some kind of recognition for it, and also something to keep you on your toes. It's nice to put the work in and actually get some recognition for it, and like you said, Richard, as well, the backup is there as well. You have a lot of access to assistance and help, both through documents. I run the showroom on my own here. I have probably 5 fitting teams, 20 plus trades at our disposal. But for me personally, if I need help, you have that go-to place to find that help that you need. At the moment, we've got a question on our business rates, and that's one of the advantages of the Kbsa. They offer help with that, very straightforward. And we're in the process of actually just having them looked at and clarified. So for us, it's a selling tool. We say to customers about it, we explain to customers about it, and it's another way of reassuring that customer that you're a serious business, that you aim at performing at a certain level and you want to maintain that level. So for us, it's a no-brainer.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters how long you've been in the industry, that support's still invaluable, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Cool. No, thanks. I appreciate that honest answer. Mark, we've heard how 30 years in the industry. What sold the Kbsa to you?
Hey Richard, I think, to be fair, the Kbsa had been on my radar for a good number of years. What really impressed me was, as you've already mentioned, during the COVID period. The only reason I hadn't joined prior to COVID was, I'll use the excuse of lack of time, but of course we all got that little bit more time, or some of us got a little bit more time in the COVID period. And I just think the work that they did, keeping us open, or the big shed shut, was just invaluable. It was just a real eye-opener for what the Kbsa do for the industry. And in all honesty, I felt I owed it back to them, back to the industry, for what they'd done. It was just incredible. And I thought the least I could do was become a member. upon becoming a member, I've then really realised the benefits and gains that there can be with it, and thoroughly enjoy being part of it. And like Michael's already said, the backup and support to questions that you may need to know the answer to is there. You can pick up the phone and speak to someone, and the other retailers. We all try to run our businesses to the best we can, but the networking opportunities is superb as well.
Yeah, it can be a little bit lonely in a family independent business, can't it? So yeah, I agree. It's the support you get from other members as well is great.
It is. It's a lonely place at times.
No, that's perfect. And Michael, I wanted to ask you, because I get this question a lot. Did you have to change your business to join?
No, I mean, for us, we felt that we were working. We had a sort of process in place of checking jobs off, making sure that customers were aware of what they were signing up to, if you like. Yeah, we felt we were working towards that anyway. What the Kbsa does, obviously, you have to work within a certain way, and you're obliged to cover the points required. But I think I think we were sort of felt like we were performing where we needed to be, and this is sort of regulating that. You don't necessarily have to change too much, but of course it gives that customer that reassurance that if you are under the Kbsa, then you're obliged to work to a certain level. Yeah, and that's one thing we love, the fact that probably every single member is different. A different setup from kitchen supplier, handmade, appliance suppliers. Their designs, way of design. We certainly want to keep the individuality of each company, and that's what makes us great, really. The individuality throughout every member. I mean, some of it we've covered. I mean, Mark, I was going to ask you the best thing about being part of it. I mean, do you think that the networking and other membership is the best, or has something else stood out for you?
I think the networking's incredible. The opportunities that are there is incredible. My standout moment was a Kbsa conference this year. I went to it for the first time 2 or 3 years ago. I was really, really impressed by it. But this year was just incredible. The speakers, the level of expertise at the conference, the way it was run, that in its own right, for me, is worth being a member of the Kbsa. It was just incredible. I took so much away from it, and the connections I've made from it. One of the guest speakers and I are currently working together now, a gentleman that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet if it wasn't through that. And we're working together. It's been a business coaching, and hopefully it's going to take my business to the next level. And that is a direct result of going to the Kbsa conference. So for me, the conference is a must. Brilliant.
No, I mean, the conference is obviously the only one in the industry, and it's been getting better and better every year, and it's great to hear how much you've got out of it. But it is open to non-members. It will be in October, and no doubt you'll see some more. But the conference is a great thing that we provide to the whole industry, really, and it's what it's about. With the Kbsa, we support the whole industry. Obviously, members get all of the internal benefits and everything throughout, and the networking, but we do support the whole industry. And TrustMark, one of the reasons we do TrustMark is it's that extra level with the government backing. That's not easy to gain. So the benefit and the package of Kbsa and TrustMark is just sort of match made in heaven, really. So I am going to now pass back, because we've got some more things to cover. But thank you, Mark and Michael, and I'll pull you back in when we talk a bit more about consumer protection.
Thanks, Richard. That's fantastic, and I just want to thank you all for that. That was really interesting, and it's the passion for what you do and why you do it is obvious, and it was great feedback, and it's great to understand
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit about consumer protection regarding TrustMark, but also I'm going to also keep some wider elements of it in as well, because it is important that when you get a homeowner or a customer that comes into your showroom asking about certain things, obviously very specific things about kitchens or whatever the specialty of your business is there. It's big tick, you've got it all nailed, but having an awareness of wider things as well will really help push you to that next stage, that next step, and give you that a bit additional in your kind of your itinerary about what you can deliver to them, because you don't know what their experiences have been. What we're finding is consumer vulnerability has grown substantially since 2020, not just because of medical health concerns and things like that, or you've got cost of living concerns, you've got higher demand from consumers regarding their need to reduce energy costs, and then when you look to match that to a supply chain with labour and product shortages, you look at delivering quality challenges in the wider remit, and it's quite a big thing. So regarding consumer protection and where kind of TrustMark sits with it, the industry in its entirety, KBB and wider, so when you look at the tradespeople that you may subcontract out to, and also what you need to be looking at as well, is there is a need to build, well, a multifaceted sustainable supply chain that supports work in and around people's homes. So if you think about kitchen installs, bathroom adjustments, but also work that are under regulation. So thinking about, well, actually, I'm having my kitchen completely redone, I'm going to get my boiler replaced as well, or I'm going to make that next step and go to an air source heat pump, and how the links there are made as well, and just making sure that when you have customers wanting to do additional work to their properties, when they have that work completed, we need to be mindful of the importance for protection for everybody. So even in this piece where I'm speaking about consumer protection, we have also made sure that there's protection for you and all parties involved, because really what needs to happen when we look at work being done is everybody needs to be protected, and ideally when we look at consumer detriment potentially rising and becoming an issue when we look at availability, pricing, poor installation quality, which I know is a key concern of suppliers and manufacturers. When we look at that all dropping into the mix, it's really a recipe that we need to manage and kind of look to grow and build better businesses for ourselves. So that's why when talking to a consumer about, well, actually, what is Kbsa, what is TrustMark, it's that complete package of looking to give them that protection. And I'll drill into how it works specifically regarding TrustMark. As I said, this information is available from our website, but I'll just give a very brief overview that what does it mean, TrustMark government quality endorsed. So what there is a master license agreement that the government give to us, TrustMark, and that is under, we have surveillance conducted on us in line with that, and very frequent meetings with government, not just about, for example, like KBB elements and other trade elements regarding where our scheme providers are involved and where we're involved, but really about, are we doing what we should be doing as well in line with that license. What happens is we hold our scheme provider accountable, so we conduct surveillance on Kbsa in line with our framework, which you can look at online. It is a lengthy document and is under review currently, but we conduct surveillance on Kbsa, making sure they're doing what they said they would do, is in line with TrustMark and is correct for all of their members. There's then the code of conduct, which they would look to align yourselves with, and that is actually mapped out against the Kbsa code of conduct. So if you're ticking those boxes to get membership, you're ticking the right boxes. That's good. But there's also the consumer charter as well, which both the code of conduct and consumer charter have been written with trading standards. So they're approved documents, which will hold up if there is legal battles. If somebody has not acted along with that, it can be used in that dispute with them as well. But it's all about consumer behavior, because we are aware that there may be some consumers that may not behave appropriately. So there's protection for each step of the way. But inevitably, it all ties up and it all goes through the licensing arrangements from that government license. And that's where it really puts a step ahead, because there's surveillance at each step of the way. So it's not that you're just going on a find a trader function and finding, oh, this showroom. There's actually a lot that goes in behind it. So when you stand there and a consumer's asking you, well, what makes you different? There's all these additional caveats that can feed into it. That toolbox that I've just briefly gone over, our primary focus really is about productivity and time selling your products, time getting the products put in, and getting your subcontractors or your installer base more time on the tools, getting more work put into people's homes. So ensuring that there's good consumer protection, it really means do it well, do it once, move on to the next job, in a very kind of blasé term. But when we look at issues around disputes and consumer rights, which can massively drain time lost and also financials, this is where these elements come into play, and that TrustMark and Kbsa support really does help with that. So we do have our framework operating requirements. I'm not going to list through all of those things, because some of the elements that are really relevant for what the Kbsa members want to hear about, I've got on a separate slide. But as I said before, that code of conduct is really about how the business behaves, which you've already met if you're a Kbsa member, because it's been aligned with Kbsa code of conduct, but also the consumer charter about, are they behaving correctly as well, to make sure that you're not in an unfair situation as a business. So the model, which is where I'm going to talk a couple of bits about those. I know I've already spoken about consumer vulnerability, but we also have to be mindful of marketplace vulnerability. So how people who may not kind of look to get work done, and that I feel is something, especially with kitchens, because people don't go and get a brand new kitchen off done. They may now look at specific pieces of kitchens and products. For example, I know that eBay is a go-to for most people, first or second choice to look for a product, but then they would go into a showroom to have further discussions. And that's kind of where we need to be mindful about. These people that come in may not have any awareness about what they're actually doing. There may be new technology that they're not even aware of. For example, I've seen in some kitchens now, you get the smart light bulbs that do different frequencies of light, but also have speakers built in and all sorts. But then obviously when you start looking at, well, actually you need to have some of the plumbing redone, because when we're looking at the furniture fitting, it's being put in, we need to move that around. It's now driving up the cost. It's how we manage those things, because these consumers are vulnerable because they're coming from a bit of a blank slate. Poor experiences obviously get shared further and faster than good ones, unfortunately, but we need to make sure that we give them good experiences. So, and then obviously that then should hopefully snowball, and people will then turn around in the street and say, well, actually, you want a Kbsa and TrustMark, go and visit that showroom, because they will make sure that you do it correctly. I'm just going to talk about a couple of the points on the 4 pillars of consumer protection. The first one, empowering. This is normally the one that kind of dips off in a lot of the industry, and it's really about empowering that person who's about to spend all of that money and making sure they have control of their choices and they have the knowledge to make the right decisions. And obviously products and process can be explained in a showroom, but what we have with TrustMark is we have a homeowner portal, so they can actually log in and have additional pieces of information relevant to different elements in there. But also there's the link to the business portal. So if you do have a TrustMark license and you've logged in and you've updated your portal, so you can upload images and things like that, but also then you can start collecting reviews, which get independently checked externally. So we don't touch the reviews there. They're done by an impartial business, which really adds additional value to it. But that's where links and additional conversation and comms and things can happen as well. So that's also a way to potentially get work outside of, if you have a showroom in a specific town or village. It may actually get some work just a little bit outside of your normal remit, which you all have full control over through your business portal, how far that net can fall. And that really just gives a bit of additional power, a bit of additional comms, just that peace of mind regarding the process, so people aren't just rushing in and buying some new elements, or they're not ordering it from online and then coming into a showroom and saying, I just want someone to fit it. It's actually helping them go through the process correctly, really. The ensuring quality, I've already spoken through those elements because they are our key toolbox, but our scheme providers are really important. And obviously our relationship with Kbsa is extremely important. And we talk about a lot of KBB industry related elements with them very frequent meetings with them. But we also have scheme providers who sit outside of the KBB world, but some of their trades may feed in, or there might be some cross-pollination there. And it just helps us build bigger pictures to try and make sure that there's always work there for good tradespeople, and they're not just being undercut by low costs, or you're not getting your showrooms. And I know Richard made reference to one earlier, you're not being undercut by other showrooms because they can offer better deals on things, but the work's not going to be done with the correct consumer protection in mind, and the correct hoops have been necessarily met. So it's really about kind of ensuring that quality. The support is a big thing. I know we've previously made reference to disputes. Disputes is massively on the rise, and I know especially in the kitchen world, there's concerns about when a dispute rises, who is accountable. If you think about if somebody comes in to complain about a kitchen unit because their marble worktop has actually broken the units underneath, well, actually, was the marble worktop too heavy? Was the kitchen unit that was put in actually incorrect and not the correct weight bearing? Or was it put in before the floor because it got screed? Was that done too early in the process? So it's thinking about those elements, or is it an element with actual communication in the process? So there's a lot of support that Kbsa offer along with that, but there's also the dispute resolution ombudsman, which is that final step. So it won't ever get to a point where you sit there with a dispute that's gone on for so long, it's taken so much of your time. And if you're like Michael, where you're trying to run shop by yourself, that's a lot of stress that in a way you don't need. So there is that final point that we can just direct them to this ombudsman, and somebody impartial and with the right qualifications can make a legally binding outcome. And it's just those additional things. The data warehouse could potentially fit into the KBB world in time regarding the government database on properties and what work's been done in the properties. And this is something that we are in discussion with the KBB world, and especially Kbsa, about how that could potentially fit. That is our database, which enables consumers to access more accurate data and information about their homes. So if you think about 5-6 years time when people need that data on their properties, so that's something that could end up rearing, and we could discuss with you as members as well in time. And then collaboration's key, not just with our scheme providers, but with National Consumer Federation, trading standards approval, which I know Kbsa members are very, very in favour of, is our link with trading standards and becoming approved through that at the discounted rate because you are a TrustMark member. So it's really all about that collaboration to make sure that consumer protection is key. I know I spoke very briefly about the dispute resolution process, but just for your awareness of it, obviously they would make contact with the installer, especially if it was a subcontractor installer. They could then discuss it with the showroom, who obviously they had the contracts with, and then it would obviously escalate to Kbsa, who would come in and help get a bit of clarity regarding that dispute. Normally, if it's escalated there, that's where it ends in the KBB world, because it's very crystal clear what happens. Or just go in, let's just sort this out. It's a £5 piece that needs redoing. Let's just get it done and put this dispute to bed. But then obviously there is that additional part that I've already put into play there. Obviously, commercial disputes such as financial will not be accepted by DRO and aren't really covered under the TrustMark Kbsa process, because they could just be they're much more complicated and complex, so they need to follow their route that's always in play through them regarding small claims, etc. So really, just to recap before I'll hand back over to the Kbsa crew there, really, how do you sell it to the customer? So when you get that person that walks in and they go, oh, what does it actually mean? You've got a TrustMark badge, but what does it mean? It's really about making things simple for them. So it's actually this is a mark that the work that you're having done is quality. There's surveillance at every step of the way, all the way down that spine. There's surveillance being conducted, there's checks, there's standards, there's minimal expectations met. So it's really making sure that the work's been done for them. So using that functionality and dealing with you, a lot of the legwork's already done. They don't have to look for other businesses and compare reviews and things. It's all been done for them. It's that peace of mind as well, that even if they are a vulnerable customer in whatever sense, they're going to be looked after. The people doing the work and the showroom, the product that you're selling to them and putting in there is going to be done correct. If it's not, it's going to get sorted out pretty promptly as well, which I know is the way of it as well, which is good. So that support if things do go wrong. But then also just looking with wider industry to drive up standards. So it means that there's government backing there for driving standards forward, for improving elements of it and really improving the market. So if they go into your competitor that's across the road who doesn't have all that, well, what checks have been done on them? How are they looking to improve the market? And it's looking to build on that, which is really, really important. So it's a really good sales piece. And I will just put that one there because that's me, but I will stop sharing because I'm going to hand back over to Richard.
Thank you. So alongside TrustMark and Kbsa, consumer protection is obviously an important thing. You wouldn't go on holiday really without being ATOL protected, and that's what I see the Kbsa scheme is. And in the future, I'd love it if that was every single person had that scheme, because as I say, you wouldn't go on holiday and not expect to get home. And that's what the Kbsa specific KBB consumer protection does. So the full service would actually get a kitchen finished if it was if a person went out of business during an install, for instance. The minimum standard credit card protection, we do a deposit protection only. It's very low cost for maximum benefit for the consumer. It's a good selling tool, especially in times where recessionary and difficult times like we're in today. It just elevates. I mean, I don't sell it within my business like I might go bust to take this out for obvious reasons, but I do sell it on the ATOL side that you wouldn't go to a member that wasn't ATOL protected. And so we offer that as standard in our business. It is opt-in, the consumer protection, in some degrees, so credit card being the minimum, and then we have our opt-in to deposit protection or full consumer care plus schemes, which offer additional benefits and warranties to the consumer. A lot of our members do offer the consumer care plus scheme. It's kind of ideal that we've got Mark, who's not opted in at the moment into the scheme and uses a credit card, and Michael, who is opted into the scheme. But I'm going to jump straight into a few questions just to find out straight from the business about that side of it. I'll start with you, Mark. Straight into that, really. You take credit card as a form of protection. Why did you go down that route, or what was the reason for the credit card side of the protection?
I think, in all honesty, it's because we've done it for a number of years. We don't, from my experience, we don't get that many people come in and actually ask us for the protection.
Mm-hmm.
But what they will do is pay on card, and they will at that point say, I'm going to pay on card because that gives me protection. So
Right.
I'm not selling it. They're more deciding that themselves.
Okay.
I think one of the other reasons, if I'm being totally transparent, and I can't remember the total length of time now, I think it was up to 12 weeks, but I should know that, was sometimes the projects, certainly after COVID, can drag on for quite a long period of time, and there's a time scale as well with the consumer protection, which we often ran over. At the times we were having a waiting list of maybe 4 months, 5 months before we could start installing. And often the 12 weeks, you correct me on that, Richard, but the consumer protection gave for the job to start wasn't long enough.
Sure. I mean, that has been addressed to a degree. So there are extensions, or you can extend it anyway, but that has been extended out. And the good thing with our insurers, you can talk individually to them, so we can actually tweak it to your business. But no, that's good. Good.
Yeah, I was, in all fairness, I was aware of that, but because it wasn't really asked for, I've not pushed it too much. But it's obviously a very, very good benefit.
No, it makes sense. And can I ask you a bit of a personal question on this, but what's the average cost of a card payment for if someone buys a kitchen?
The average cost of a kitchen, I don't honestly know the answer to that, but I've just had a bit of, well, I was actually doing a little bit of work on this myself over the past couple of days, and we're paying about £150 a month at the moment in credit card fees, credit or debit card fees, but mainly credit. You know, so obviously, again, from my experience of the consumer protection, that probably 3 or 4 kitchens, isn't it? I would imagine, to go on the consumer protection if it was to be sold.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Appreciate you being open with that. And into Michael, how do your customers react to the Kbsa consumer protection?
Yeah, I mean, for us, again, we use it as a selling tool, if you like. There's a lot of customers still out there that are quite prepared to spend the money for some of the projects that they are doing it in their properties. You know, a lot of our projects will be on a lead time of probably 4 months, something like that. So if a customer gave a deposit today, we wouldn't necessarily start that project for a couple of months down the line. So when you explain to the customer the Kbsa benefits, the TrustMarks, the consumer protection, you're building confidence all the time that customer is in the showroom, listening to you, having discussions with you, and it sets you apart from the next showroom down the road, so to speak. So for us, it's had a really, really good response from customers. We can all sit in a showroom and say, yes, we can do that, yes, we can do that, and do this, but to have something to back it up that a customer can go and actually check out, because quite a few customers, when you actually explain the Kbsa and the TrustMark, they're not actually aware of it. It's the first time they've maybe done a big project for a few years. So explain it to them, they can go and actually check it out, and they can see from the support that it offers that it's a really good, useful thing to have. So yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer from where we're concerned for the response. The other reason as well is because we're a relatively new company, we weren't able to get a card machine straight away. So for us, it was able to offer that protection because we weren't at the time able to take credit card payments or card payments at all. So it was really useful for us. Yeah.
Okay. And do you bring that into your, whether it's your sales pitch or just your initial chats with customers, do you bring that in early about the protection you offer?
Well, in the showroom, we have our certificates all on display. So a customer may come into the showroom and initially make contact requesting a kitchen or a bathroom or bedroom, so to speak, and we will use sort of the certificates on the wall as a way of just explaining to the customer how we operate. Site surveys, we always do a survey. We obviously go through the customer and show them on the wall the certificates and explain the benefits. And I think at that point, the customer then is a little bit more interested. You know, they like the fact that they're going to be protected. You do hear stories of, unfortunately, showrooms not making it through. And we all know to a certain degree how busy we are. So we can say to customers, we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. Customers don't know that. And to a certain degree, we don't know what's around the corner. So I think for us, we bring it into the sales pitch. We give out the leaflets. We explain to them. We go out and check jobs off with fitters as well. We give fixed prices. We do the terms and conditions, a contract. And it basically, again, is a selling tool right from making first point of contact with a customer, but not only just when we finish the project, it's beyond that as well. There's protection after we've finished, and I think customers like to hear that, and showrooms as well. It's not just protecting the customer, it's protecting us. We work very hard for what we do. I'm very passionate about the industry, incredibly passionate, as amongst everybody else is. And it's nice to have that reassurance that if something does go wrong or there is a query, you have that backup.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the protection, obviously, as they've explained with TrustMark, goes further. Consumers can complain to the Kbsa, and the Kbsa aren't there just to back up the consumer. We do back up the showroom. And so sometimes we get complaints where we send out manufacturers. We've sent out Corrie in before to go and see a customer, and what that brings is this customer, it was shown that actually the install of the Corian was actually as per manufacturers, and it was proved to be a quality install. So if you've got that evidence and we provide it, and you take that to, if they then decide to go down the court route, obviously the level of protection the business gets and what the judge will see as an expert coming in is invaluable. And we do support retailers. So consumer protection is kind of seen as a deposit protection scheme, but it does go much further, and we have got obviously the mediation services and resolutions in there. And as I say, what we don't do and what we put people off is any sort of financial. When a customer goes straight for the jugular and wants financial gain, is when we switch off or switch them off to it, and we won't support the consumer in that way. And normally, if they're not willing to allow, which is going against consumer law, again, that normally sides with the consumer because they're not allowing you to do your job or adhere to consumer law. So we'll support in a lot of ways. And as you can see, again, with that, it's flexibility for the member to choose their own path, but be supported by the Kbsa through that. So consumer protection, full consumer protection in one business, credit cards and code of conduct in the other. That's their right and their way, and we'll support them whichever route they go. I think that's enough on our consumer protection. If anyone else has got any other questions about it, then feel free to ask in the Q&A or obviously after this webinar.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, that was excellent. And again, really insightful from you guys from Kbsa in terms of what it all means to you. And again, like I said before, a lot of passion and commitment to providing a quality service. We've got 5 minutes left of this session. Please submit questions if you have any. We've had a couple in. Just quickly look through that. Okay, I think we're going to have to keep this quite snappy. So you've kind of covered it off, but I think we've got somebody who's asked, they're not a member of Kbsa or TrustMark, and they're put off by what they think could be red tape or a very time-consuming process to be able to join. And I was just wondering whether Richard and Ash, it kind of in a nutshell, can just kind of summarise why that's potentially not the case and how they would be supported through that process.
Yeah, I mean, we've over the years, it's never been a complicated process really. The form is fairly easy. Malcolm, our sales director, will come and see you. You can do it remotely as well, and it's not cumbersome. It's quite easy. We need a few customers' details and a bit of information on the business, but it's not a long process. We can come and do it with you, and then in turn that easily rides into the TrustMark, because again, Malcolm does the TrustMark vetting, and if there's something you need, we've got it. So if it's a complaints process or terms and conditions, we provide all that for you anyway, and the links to do that. So we will, saying hold your hand, but we will hold your hand. It's nice and easy. I did it all those years ago, and it was probably more difficult 16 years ago than it is today. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's more than 20 minutes to get all the information together, really.
Yeah, with the TrustMark additionals, there's a lot of work that Kbsa have put in, because I remember having meetings many years ago with Uwe about making sure there's a lot of alignment and processes quick and easy, and there's no duplication, there's no unnecessary red tape. So by going through that application process with Kbsa, you're actually meeting all of the things that may be perceived as additionals for TrustMark, which aren't additionals, because it's things like it's checking things like your credit card protection, things that you have already in play, but that's largely been done because of the surveillance we conduct on Kbsa and our collaboration over the years. So there aren't really any additional hoops that you need to jump through regarding that membership, which is why it's gifted, because it's part of that bigger package that Kbsa offer, which is brilliant and a strength of theirs.
Can I just add to that as well? From our point of view, we felt we were sort of already working at the performance, and the process is very, very straightforward. Malcolm comes out, he's very approachable. Dawn in the office, you know, not only does it obviously offer the perks of the selling tool, but also everyone at the Kbsa and TrustMark is very passionate about it as well. So nothing's ever an issue, and the actual process, although it is a process that is very necessary, it is a process that is very straightforward, and if you're performing at a certain level anyway, you're already doing it. So
fantastic. Thanks, Michael. We had a question along those lines, which I was going to ask, but you basically answered it, which was about the process and the vetting process and how straightforward it is. So that's fantastic, and that's perfect timing. We are now running out of time, so I think it's probably just a good point now to draw this session to an end. Hopefully, those that have been watching found it useful. I think from my point of view, the key takeaways are that it's being part of a recognised quality scheme trade association definitely does provide benefits in terms of giving you that kind of advantage over competitors, differentiating you against your competitors, and also providing your customers with added protection as well. And it can also provide support. It can save you time, it can save you money. And so there are a lot of tangible benefits from that. And I'd just like to thank you for giving up your time to attend this session today. I'd also really like to thank the panelists for their input, which has been interesting, passionate, invaluable. And we will be sending out a short survey after this session to those that have watched. So we'd love to get your feedback on how you felt this session went, the content, and anything else you'd like us to talk about in future webinars and podcasts and things like that. So please feedback, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. And we'll also be putting out links to this session because it has been recorded. So we'll be putting those out as well soon. So please feel free to get in touch with either TrustMark or Kbsa. All the contact details are on both websites if you've got any wider questions about membership. But for this session, I'd just like to say thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.